About being a member of NAC, what I really value is just the vast amount of information that I have available. Some of it by email, so I'm on a variety of listservs that will, target me for information that I really want to have. But I think really the most valuable thing is the networking that's available, either as a clinician or as a medical director or just a member of the movement. Being able to talk to other people, fellow travelers who have been over some of the road before, is wonderful. I came to the health centers. I've been at my health center for 23 years. I was there for 6 years as a clinician, and I didn't really know about the movement. I just knew that there were other health centers that did sort of what we did, but I didn't know how we related to each other. And in my 6th year, we had sort of a cleaning of house and changeover of administrations in our centers, and I was the last person to put their thumb up and say, I don't want to be the medical director, and so I ended up in the role of acting medical director with no experience and no knowing what it was like. And I said, I'll do this, but you have to send me some training. And so they sent me to my first NAC conference, and I was like, wow, there's all these people all over the country that are fighting some of the same battles that we're fighting, and they have experience dealing with some of the things that I'm frustrated with. So I came to a new medical director's training. That was my first exposure, and have had just a ton of good experiences learning what's going on. So when I attend NACHC conferences, what I really look forward to, besides from all of the formal sessions, is the ability to sit down with people who are in similar roles as what I'm doing at my center and say, hey, we've had a new problem crop up. Have you heard of this one, or have you heard of someone? And usually it only takes me a couple of contacts and somebody will point me in the direction of, or I'll already know someone who has a health center that's similar to mine, who faces similar issues. And I'll have usually, if I'm sitting at a table with 4 or 5 people, I have 4 or 5 different possibilities to think through and say, hey, maybe this would work at our center. Going to the Policy and Issues Forum in the spring every year has been very helpful for me. I've had people sort of walk me through how are you going to get the attention of your member of Congress? How are you going to get on their agenda? How are you going to stay in their memory after you've been one of the 50 people who rolled through this morning to talk with them? How is that going to be memorable, and how are you going to try and get some help later? So that's been very useful to attend regularly, as it's allowed us as a health center to build relationships with people who are in a position to help us and to help our patients. Particular sessions that have been very helpful for us have been some of them on health information technology. So as we were sort of looking at the whole gamut of there's 50 products out there and who knows which one's going to survive and which one really works in a health center, we did our homework at home. We got down to a list of 5 or 10 that were pretty good. We started talking to people at NAC meetings and asking them what did they think. And really when we got down to our top 3, we said, we don't think we can ask somebody how this will work for us. We think we need to go watch. So we contacted other health centers who were using the top 2 products that we were interested in, and we said, can we come to where you work and watch how you use this system and see if it looks like the way we think we'll use it? And it was very clear to us we sent 2 different teams, actually, one to one and one to the other, and then we reported back. But within the first half hour of sitting down and talking with each other, we could tell that one group said, this product's not going to work for us, and the other group said, this is going to work, this is what we need for our practice. So that was really terrific. The other thing is, I think in all the clinical sessions, I can go to clinical sessions from the American Academy of Family Practice, or I can go to things at our local university, but I'm always taking what I learn and then I have to reinterpret it into, okay, what does that really mean at a health center? So if the recommendation is, well, this is a long time ago, but if the recommendation was you're getting regular screening sigmoidoscopies and a barium to look for colon cancer, then I'd have to say, well, I can't do that for my patients. They don't have the money to do this. They don't have the money to do that. And when I go to clinical sessions at a NAC conference or at a state or regional meeting, somebody's already thinking about that. A specific example I can think of that is we participated in a diabetes collaborative. And so as we were beginning to think what I'd done, I had heard a couple of times from vendors and from people at the university, oh, you want to think about point of care testing, you can do the hemoglobin A1C in the room. And a lot of times their take was, because you can make some money now, you're doing the test in your office and you can get the result back right away, that's really cushy and the patients will appreciate that. And that didn't speak to me. I was like, well, that doesn't really help me. We're trying to do this on the a reasonable budget. We don't really need to leverage this for profits. But when I came to when I was in the Diabetes Collaborative, people said, hey, you know, your patients who are really struggling to get away from their hourly job, they need to come in and have their visit. So they would come in for a visit and their glucose would be high. And they'd say, well, yeah, but I had birthday cake for breakfast this morning. That's probably the only reason that it's a problem. And then I'd get my A1C result back the next day. And then I'd have to call them and they wouldn't be home, and you leave a message, and it's now 3 or 4 days later, you say, it wasn't just the birthday cake, or hey, you did really great. It wasn't just that you were fasting when you came in the other morning, your sugar's really improving. That was a value directly to our patients that I think gave us better care. And when someone at another health center provider said, if you do this, it makes it easier for you to give your patients good quality care, then I said, oh, well, we need to think about point of care testing. We better run this through. And that happens pretty frequently when there's a clinical issue that's been thoughtfully prepared by someone at a health center. It's not just been prepared for what's the latest recommendation for the American Society of whatever the society is, but what's the latest recommendation and how can you apply that at a health center for patients who have a limited budget and are trying to get the best care that they can. Another project that we did as a collaborative, so the entire state of Utah, all the health centers in Utah, sought Joint Commission accreditation together. Some of them are very small. We're one of the largest centers, and so we might have been able to do it together, but by putting that whole group together, and it was something that NAC helped us arrange, we were able to contract with the Joint Commission, have them do a joint training session, pooled resources. We got, better cost-benefit ratios because we were working together, and have subsequent to that then also had that experience of working together when we face new concerns or new items come up from the Joint Commission. We sort of go, yeah, we know who else looks like this, who else does a lot of what we do, and we can call them and say, how did you solve this problem? And a lot of times somebody's already thought of a solution, so we're not reinventing the wheel every single time we do things. When I started as a medical director, I had specifically come to a health center saying, I want to work there because all I have to do is see my patients. I'll never have to learn anything about the business of medicine. And unlike the other job I was considering in a university where I knew there was lots of politics, university politics, I said, gee, the health center, I'll never learn anything about the business of medicine, or I won't have to, and I won't have to learn anything about any kind of politics. Well, that just tells you how really incredibly naive I was. I just didn't know that there was going to be a different set of politics involved in trying to take care of patients who don't have much in the way of funding. And if you're not really good at the business of medicine, well, if you're not good at the business and you have very little funds, then you're not going to take care of many papatients. So when I got into this medical director role, I said, please help me figure this out, because I really had avoided learning anything about it. And there was really a set of trainings that people could recommend to me and say, start here, then you might want to go here, then you'll know enough that you might want to start picking and choosing about what works best for you. And it's been really amazing, and that's why I wanted to spend time talking with you today, because people have been very generous to me with their time and their willingness to mentor and encourage, and I think now that I've learned a few things, then I owe a bit of that back.